Hi everyone, it's Karen. I'm back to show you how to make some flowers with the doilies. I promised I would. So here is the doily that I had in my design team package, and the same one I used for the flowers on top of the box. And here I've just cut the center of it out, and that's it there. So I just cut the center out, and then I will just stretching it out there. I usually do that with doilies. They often are a little bit scrunched up. I just cut a piece of felt, and I am going to use that for the backing of my flower. I usually cut the centers out if I'm going to be creating the flower on top of that and covering it all up, because I like to use the centers in other things. So I take it out rather than just cover it all up. So that's why I put the felt in there, because that really helps. Now I'm going to combine some lace with the doily on this flower. And so I've just taken half a piece of one of Kim's beautiful netted laces, and I've gathered the bottom of it. And it's just a big dull needle that I use to gather on, because it's really easy on your hands when you're using a large needle like that. And I'm just pulling the thread through. And I will gather that piece up, and then that will be my second layer to this flower. And that's what I find, is that I just pull out different laces, and I can see I have a bunch of rolled roses on my table that I've made from fabrics and from some satin and some ribbon. And then I just start building the flower. I do like to add some gathered lace if I want the flower to have some dimension, because doilies of course are quite flat, and so to allow for the dimension to build up. You can gather your doilies as well, which I did on one of the flowers. I gathered that outside edge that I'm using now. I just ran a running stitch around that and gathered that up. This time I've left it as the outside edge. So this is how I'm building it up. I've put the gathered lace, and then I've put one of the little spiders, and then one of Kim's gorgeous cabochons that I got in my design team package. It's got such pretty colors in it. It has I think there's a little girl in the center as well. So they make very pretty flower centers. Until you get up quite close to them, you don't see all the details in them, but you do see from a distance, you see the pretty colors, and that is often what catches your eye as the center of the flower. So just finished creating that ruffled piece, and just finger moving the ruffles around, and then I use some glue and I apply that to the center. And then I will be putting the spider on after I adjust the gathers again. Then I will be putting the spider on next, and then the little cabochon in the middle. And how easy is this flower, and yet how pretty does it look? And I ended up using this flower on a really pretty rag wreath that I made, and did in all the colors to go with sort of my Valentine decor that my grandson and I have been putting together and decorating. And so I will take a picture and add it to the end of this video to show you that I did use this particular flower in that. I had some other flowers already made that I used as well, but this one I did add into that pretty wreath that I made. So just holding the cabochon in place, because they do take a second for the hot glue to set up, and they need to be held in place so they stick really well, and just adjusting the spider's little pieces coming out from underneath it, and there you go. There is flower number 1. Okay, next one. Oh, you know what? I decided I wanted a little bit of tassel in it, and you know how much I love this trim, and this is from Kim's shop. And so I just cut off a few pieces of it loose, and I add that in at the bottom there to make a little tassel-y piece coming out for a little bit more interest and more detail, bringing in a little bit more white into the flower as well, because I use the white lace. And I just tuck that in underneath and glue that in place. I think I used just 3 little pieces of that dangle trim. So you can see how this trim can take you a long ways when you use it in a little project like that. And I'm just using my little silicone finger that I have just to press down on that so it stays in place. There. And right away I say to myself, yes, that looks way better. It looks better than just without that dangle. Just love it. So, what do I do next? I can't even remember. Of course, I'm doing a voiceover on this because it's really difficult sometimes to do videos and be able to leave the volume on and have my grandson running around. And so I do the video and then I redo all the voiceover. So there was another option. A pink bow could have been added in there as well, but I decided not to do that. So here's the next piece, which is I'm showing is that next set of stitches all the way around. And I did use that, those stitches to do one of the flowers on top of the box. And so I've already cut it out, and I will finish. I want the edge to be quite fringy looking, so I'm cutting off any bits that are connecting it together, so making it more open. So when I cut it from the edge, the edging, I obviously didn't take care. I just cut it off, and now I'm going back and doing the detail work of taking off all that edging that's holding that together so that it's more fringy like on the end, and that's what I want. And just cleaning up my mess there that is made, and then I believe I take the center out of this one as well because I want to gather this. I'm going to cut this one and then gather it up and make the flower similar to what I made for the top of the box. So I'm just finishing cutting out the center here, and of course we'll set that aside because I do use those in other making smaller flowers. I like to use them as part of the centers. So there I just cut it, and now I'm going to take my needle and thread again and just do a gathering stitch on the unfringed edge, and that will create the outer edge of my flower. So just a straight, in and out stitch along the bottom there. I don't pay particular attention to the lengths of my stitches. I just go in and out quickly, and just showing you that full length of that needle. I just find they're a lot easier on your hands than using small needles, and so I was recommended to try them, and I really do like them and use them for when I'm doing the gathering. So just pushing all that up onto the needle and then pulling the thread through, and then getting it caught in the doily on my table as this happens, and then I will tie that off so that it becomes a nice circle. And then I tighten this one right up. You can tighten that as much as you want when you're making your outer edge of your flower. If you leave a bigger hole in the center, you may have a larger center that you want to put in, so you can make your flower a bit bigger by leaving that hole in the center larger. In this case, I'm going for a quite small flower, so I tighten it right up in the center. And then you can see you can place that size onto the petals of another, just a piece cut from some lace of a flower. You can put it on a spider like I have there, and I throw the flower away and show you the spider. And then I decide that I am going to use the spider. And so you get this look. And sometimes I'll just go along and just tidy up the little pieces that are coming out of the little crochet pieces that make up the spider, depending on how it looks to my eye. That's just a preference thing. There's a little rose in the center, and so you can change up the look of the flower just by changing the center of it. So there's another little one that I've made, and this time I just show you that I use the center on that little flower one, and I just grab another one of those flowers out of the lace. I cut one out because I wanted it to double it up to give it more more substance to it. It just didn't look enough with just the single set of petals. So there's 2 sets of petals offset, and then the little spider, or not the spider, the little doily center, and then one of the little pretty little white acrylic flowers from Kim's shop. And there I showed with the heart as well. So again, changing the centers can change the appearance. And I decided to go with a little acrylic one. And again, I just set it aside. I will glue them together when I'm off screen, just to save some time in making this video. So there's 3 of them made using 3 parts of the doily. And now I'm going to show you how I make the little sort of the faux petal ones. I had a couple in the upper corner of the box and 1 or 2 at the bottom. And so I just take the center out of the doily, and then I cut the doily approximately in half. Again, I don't measure. And then I do a bit of a pleat in the center of it to bring it together. And that creates this sort of larger kind of petal look. And I find these are really useful to tuck in behind your flowers. It appears like a larger flower is coming out from behind them. And you see just a couple of the petals. But you don't have to create a whole flower in order to get the appearance. So you can see how when I put it just behind that one, and then I put a little pink rolled rose there, how that looks like there's another flower coming out from behind. And it's really useful, especially if you're decorating on a wreath, on a wall hanging, on a top of a box. You can get that illusion of more flowers and more fullness, and it works really well. And you're just using parts of the doily. You can do this also with lace pieces as well, and it's a very good technique to use to add more fullness and make it look like there's even more flowers than there is. And here I'm just putting a little collection of them together so that you get an idea of how you might use these pieces if you were decorating on top of the box, or decorating on a wall hanging, decorating on the front of a journal. There's just so many ways that you can use a collection of flowers like this, and it can be a lot of fun, and it can turn out really super pretty. So I'm just pulling in different ones that I have made. I had done a whole bunch of rolled roses. I sat one evening watching a movie with my husband, and I glue them and I stitch them, but these ones I've stitched them because I can sit in front of the TV and then just stitch them as I'm rolling them. And I can make a whole bunch of them then. And it's fun to have them on hand, because if you're putting together a project, you can have them there ready to go. So here I'm just adding different centers. I've got the pretty pink sparkly heart from AngeldreamcraftsKim. I've got one of the clear ones there, and bringing in the other flower that I made, and I'm just kind of positioning it there, trying to show you how to put together a collection using all the different ideas that I've shown you. And this is exactly how I put together my collection on top of the box. So just giving you a glimpse in of how I use the pieces then after I've created them, to then putting them together to make your flower collection. In looking at it, I decided I wanted to show you how I did the little puffs with lace as well. I just showed you how to make them with a doily and do the sort of the false petals or the little puffs in the back there. So what I've done now is taken a piece of netted lace from AngeldreamcraftsKim. I just love her netted laces. They're so pretty and so versatile, so worth spending the money on. So what I've done is gathered. I haven't shown it on camera because I was off screen. I was sitting back in my chair, which makes it not on screen. But it's a gathering stitch. I've already showed you how to do it on the bottom of a doily. It's the same idea. I just cut a piece of the lace and I did the gathering stitch and I tied it. And this time you're just doing enough to make the little false petal or puff. You're not wanting to make a whole piece. So this is great because you can use smaller pieces of lace, little scraps of lace that you may have, and then you're just, again, you're tucking it in behind your flowers to give the illusion, oh, there's another flower in behind. There's a petal coming out. And again, that's what I did on the top corner of the box. And so this is just another way of adding what looks like more petals to your collection of flowers. I had mentioned that you could use the outer edge of your doily to create just a straight cotton pretty lace piece, and so I'm showing you a doily here that I've just cut the outer edge off of it, and then I have just cut the doily so it's no longer round, and you just straighten it straight out, and that becomes a beautiful cotton piece that you can add on the side of a wall hanging, side of a page in a journal, and it's just the outer edge of your doily straightened out, and it's another beautiful use for your doilies. So here is the final collection with the flowers that I made, and I hope that you found this helpful and that you will give making some flowers a try. They are so much fun and you can use them in so many different projects. And if you have any questions, just leave them in the comments below and I'll be happy to answer them. And thank you all for stopping by and watching this tutorial, and I hope to see you all soon. Bye for now.